Are you a goal setter? Do you want to be a goal getter? Goal Getting, Don't Just Set 'em, Get 'em will provide you with proven techniques and skills to set goals for successful goal achievement and to replace negative goal-killing programming with positive goal-getting oriented thoughts so you can get the goals you set. I'd like to thank my friend, Mark Sentinger, for providing today's theme music, Baccarat. You can check out more of Mark's work at marksentinger.com. Hello and welcome back to Goal Getting, Don't Just Set 'em, Get 'em, the Goal Getting podcast. Hi, I'm your host, Tony Woodall, the founder of Goal Getting, Don't Just Set 'em, Get 'em. I appreciate you coming back and joining us today in this podcast. This is episode 3, as I said, and we're going to be talking about Get Real, realistic goals, that is, the second step in the 9 steps to successful goal achievement. I put the program together to do a couple of things. One was to share with you how to set goals for successful goal achievement, because after studying goal-setting methods and programs from many different motivational speakers and goal-setting experts, I realized that to help you maximize the effectiveness of setting your goals so that you can achieve those goals, I wanted to set up this program. So I came up with the 9 steps to successful goal achievement to help you maximize the effectiveness of setting your goals so you can go out and get your goals. I also wanted to share with you an amazing program that has over 30 years of successful, proven, effective results. A program that uses hypnotherapy-based techniques to help you remove negative, success-stealing programming in your subconscious minds and to replace it with goal-getting, positive, success-oriented thoughts and beliefs that you may not have had before or that may have been hijacked by those negative programming. And a program that has helped me personally increase my income by over 400% since I started it. And yes, I did say over 400%. And it is not a get-rich-quick program, but it has helped me increase my income from where I started over 400%. This podcast is a culmination of one of my goals, actually 2 of my goals. One of them was to present this program that I learned and put together to as many people as possible. And the second was to create a podcast to do so. I used to do podcasting in 2004 and 2005, just a generic podcast. It was difficult back then because it wasn't as well known. It had just gotten started, and I just hadn't had any way to really, put this out there effectively, and I hadn't come up with this program at the time. After I achieved some of my goals, I actually became successful at one of the goals that I had set for myself, was very happy in the work and career that I had gone on to be very successful in the IT world and, in the enterprise content management world, setting up things for mortgage banking companies. And in doing so, I kind of forgot about my podcasting that I was doing and just really was enjoying my life. So during that time, I worked hard, became a loan officer eventually, and started developing this program to actually start putting it out and teaching it to other people based on being successful myself. So I started putting this program together, and I went and had it created as a continuing education course for the Georgia Real Estate Commission so that I could teach it to the different realtor offices, the boards of realtors, and I actually did present this to several of them, as well as mortgage companies and also to community groups and chambers of commerce meetings and stuff. And I really was excited about being able to present that, but I had forgotten how to actually get it out to a large audience. So a few months ago, I was in a social media marketing strategy class and was overhearing one of the fellow students behind me that was saying that they don't listen to radio anymore. They only listen to podcasts. And it brought me back to when I was doing these programs, driving around as a loan officer, selling myself the different realtors and presenting this course to these offices and so forth. I listened to satellite radio for the very same reason, and it didn't strike me about podcasts at the time, but as satellite radio got bigger, podcasting has now become bigger. So I started researching and found that iTunes had a very excellent marketing program, or part of iTunes not only was music, but also podcasts. And I'd been on iTunes for several years and never realized that they had podcasts on there. Today, you are listening to my podcast, Goal Getting, Don't Just Set 'em, Get 'em, the Goal Getting Podcast. the culmination of a couple of my goals. So it does work. Today we're going to cover step 2 of the 9 steps to successful goal achievement. Last episode we covered step 1, which was write them down, create clearly defined written goals. This episode we're going to talk about step 2, which is be realistic. And this is also the R in your SMART goals. If you remember the SMART goals, that was in episode 1. We talked about that. The R in SMART goals is to be realistic. So why is it so important? Well, setting up unrealistic goals is setting yourself up for failure. If the goal can't be achieved, it likely won't, and it will fail. There's an old saying, oft quoted by many motivational speakers, goal-setting gurus and such, that what the mind can conceive, it can achieve. I actually use that myself in several of the talks that I gave, but the quote actually is from Napoleon Hill, and what he actually states is, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. So that and believe is very important in that entire quote. The mind can conceive many things, some that you can't believe, and that aren't realistic. At one time, someone had once had a vision to send people to the moon, and at that one time back then, somebody had probably said, that's not realistic. There's no way you can do that. But let me be clear when we're talking about getting real. What is realistic? If the average 5-year-old kid said their goal was to enroll in college as a freshman at age 11, you might try to say to that kid and counsel him that that's probably an unrealistic goal, son. It's not something that you can do. It's not realistic. However, I recently was listening to the news, and one of the things I heard was that 11-year-old Carson Huey Yu had just enrolled as a freshman at TCU, Texas Christian University, and he's taking a full load at 11 years old. He says, I'm taking calculus, physics, history, and religion. Those are my 4 classes, he told the local CBS affiliate. Now, Carson isn't your average 11-year-old, nor was he your average 5-year-old, to be honest. He was actually in high school at 5 years old, and he graduated with a 4.0 GPA and scored 1770 on his SAT. He's an exceptional kid, very bright kid, probably a genius, but it just goes to show that even the most amazing goals can be realistic if they really are. And if Carson was your average kid at age 5 in normal classes, etc., and he had set a goal to be in college at age 11, he most likely would not have set a realistic goal. What does this say? Well, obviously it tells you that his parents didn't think he was not college material like some of us, but he also had a lot of capabilities that the average person doesn't have at 5 years old. I had the pleasure, my senior year of high school, of being in class with a young lady that had just turned 16, and she also was a senior, and I thought that was amazing. You can read more about Carson on our website in the show notes at goalgettingpodcast.com/episode 3. There you'll find a link to the local CBS affiliate that he had been talking with. And in my ebook, 9 Steps to Successful Goal Achievement, we define the R in SMART goals as realistic to be. Goals that are realistic are determined by what you are willing and able to do to accomplish them. It is what you really believe you can do. It is something that with the right amount of belief, work, and ability, you can achieve. Now, have you set goals that you haven't achieved? Do you know why you didn't achieve them? One of the first things that you should look at with the goals that you did not achieve is 1, are you setting goals that are realistic? Can they be achieved? Not necessarily are they possible to achieve, but can they be achieved in the time frame and with the resources you have available? You will likely find that the goal was achievable, but not necessarily realistic with the deadline or specifics that you set for yourself. So what you should do is reevaluate that goal and see if there's a realistic way that it can be achieved. Maybe the parameters you set to achieve the goal, the deadline and so forth, maybe those were realistic or unrealistic. Do you still want to achieve that goal? Is it still something that you have a goal to achieve? If so, what you want to do is redefine the what and look at it to see, is it realistic, and what can you do maybe to modify it so that it is more realistic? To give you an example, when I set my goal for earning my certified mortgage banker designation, I set the deadline to achieve the goal just over 1 year from the day that I had set it. Now, when I decided to achieve this goal, I had already completed many of the requirements I needed to meet the qualifications for the CMB designation. When I set the goal, I knew it was realistic. Why? Because I knew what was required, and I knew that I had already accomplished many of those requirements, and that I would be able to, with the ability to achieve the additional requirements that I needed to do, and I had the will to do it, that I would be able to achieve that goal. So the goal of achieving the CMB designation would not have been unrealistic for me. The ability to achieve it by the date I wanted to receive it would have been unrealistic if I had not already had the things that I knew that were part of it that I already had accomplished. If I had not had those already under my belt and already completed, there's no way I would have been able to achieve this goal within 1 year. The ability to achieve it by the date I wanted to receive it was realistic. If I had not been able to achieve it and I'd still set that goal, it would have failed. I would have set myself up for failure, and I would have failed. I would have given that nasty subconscious mind of mine, at least it was nasty at that time, that, see, I told you you weren't smart enough to be a CMB. Your mom was right. You aren't college material. It would have been one more negative thought and belief to the negative programming it received throughout the many years before that. So it's important that you not set yourself up for failure. Set realistic goals. What is realistic in your situation? What is realistic for you? If you need some help to understand what I mean by be realistic, or want to look at tailoring your goals for successful goal achievement, please pick up a copy of my ebook, 9 Steps to Successful Goal Achievement. It's free. There's a link on our show notes, goalgettingpodcast.com/episode 3, or you can just type in goalgettingpodcast.com/ebook. Give us your email address so we can have it emailed to you. Again, it's free, yours for listening to the podcast. So to recap today's episode, step 2 of the 9 steps to successful goal achievement is be realistic. Set realistic goals that you have the will and ability to achieve. Don't set yourself up for failure, friends. Let's turn the negative programming in the subconscious mind around with positive, success-oriented thoughts and beliefs. Achieving your goals will help you turn it around. Also, please go over to iTunes and submit a review to our show. If you liked what you heard today or in any of the episodes, we would appreciate any comments that you have. You can go over to iTunes and submit a review. We would greatly appreciate it. I want to thank you for listening. If you want to learn more about goal getting, don't just set them, get them, and how you can learn how to turn your negative programming around, replace it with positive, success-oriented thoughts and beliefs, let me know. So have a great week, and I look forward to meeting with you next week on Goal Getting. Don't just set them, get them, the Goal Getting Podcast.